Welcome. Today I wanted to get started with a quick story that will lead into a lesson that I learned early in my career, but that's still relevant very much today. And this thing it's relevant to personal leadership, to family leadership, to job leadership, to your business success. And so, kind of going into the story, when I was in high school, I went to a friend's house, and I'd been there before, but, it'd been a few months. And so I pulled up, and keep in mind, I wasn't a gardener growing up. I had really no interest in landscape at all. But what I noticed when I got there was in the front of their house, they had this, kind of this hedge or this shrubbery that, I guess I had noticed before, but didn't really pay attention to it. Well, like all growing mismatched throughout, and, even up by the sidewalk, there were places of grass that weren't cut, and there were these beautiful flowers that were growing. But it just looked weird. It didn't look, the flowers were gorgeous, but it didn't fit. It was out of place. And so I asked my friend, I said, what's going on out here? And he says, oh, my dad got a pack of wildflower seeds and he went crazy spreading them everywhere. And this is what came up. And he doesn't want to, the ones growing in the yard, he's just cutting around because he loves them. And the ones that grew up in the shrubs, he said he'll pull them when they're finished blooming. Now, what is a weed? A weed is not, by definition, is not an ugly plant. It's not a noxious plant or an obnoxious plant to some people. A weed is a plant that is growing in an unintended place, somewhere it shouldn't be growing. Those were weeds. Those weren't beautiful plants. They were beautiful plants, but they were weeds because no matter how pretty the plant was, it wasn't cohesive. It didn't make the rest. So that's kind of the lesson is in our lives, we have a lot of weeds growing. In our careers, we have a lot of weeds growing. In our businesses, we have a lot of weeds growing, but it looks good, so we don't want to pull them out. You got to get the weeds out because no matter how pretty that individual thing is, that plant, no matter how gorgeous the bloom is, if it's not growing where you wanted it to grow, it needs to be removed because it's not part of the overall picture or the overall package. And again, I have talked to so many people, whether it's, as they get ready to downsize their life, or they're trying to simplify, or they're trying to advance their career, they get caught up because they're like, well, I can't take that out because I like it. It's a weed, get it out. If you don't need it, get it out. If it's not in place, get it out. If it's keeping you from growing, get it out. It's a weed. So again, just remember, no matter how pretty things are, no matter how attracted you are to that, if you like it that much, put it in the proper place. Dig it up, transplant it, put it where it belongs, and admire it. But if it's growing and disrupting the rest of your life, the rest of your garden, the rest of your job, the rest of your business, you got to get it out, because if not, you'll find yourself tending to the weeds. You'll make the weeds beautiful, and what you're trying to grow will suffer. So again, that's just a quick lesson I learned early on, and I'm having to learn it every day. I've got to check the garden every day and make sure I pull the weeds out because they'll creep in and you'll admire their beauty. So hope this helps somebody today. Tune in. We're going to have more of this coming up. If you're not following us on social media, we're at Nursery Lessons on Instagram, on Facebook, and we have a YouTube channel. You can follow our website, nurserylessons.com. Click on the link, and you can get to our Podbean, which is where our podcast and our blogs are going to be. But look forward to hearing from you and hearing what weeds you're rooting out of your lives.